Brock Bowers is injured. He's going to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And I think with him getting injured, the SEC is fair game for anybody because Georgia, without Brock Bowers, they're not the same football team. And if you look at that Auburn game, if it wasn't for Brock Bowers and what he did in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter, Auburn would have walked away with the upset win. Now, Georgia has a good amount of talent to be able to make up for Brock Bowers getting injured and missing a significant amount of time. But the thing is, even though you do have guys like Ladd McConkey and Dominic Lovett, are they going to be good enough to overcompensate for not having Brock Bowers there? Because there's a difference between having solid wide receivers and having an elite game-changing tight end. Brock Bowers is regarded as the greatest tight end to ever play college football in a lot of people's opinions. And you definitely can see why. Like, he's one of the best players in college football. I had him fifth on my Heisman Trophy power rankings. And without having him, Georgia's offense is going to be at a significant disadvantage. And this isn't the same Georgia team that we've seen in the previous 2 seasons when they won back-to-back national championships. Like, I know Georgia has a bunch of talented 5- and 4-star guys at wide receiver on their roster, but with the way they've played up to this point this season, I don't think that it's just going to be next man up and they're just going to have guys coming out of nowhere that we never heard of that are going to end up going off. Georgia, compared to the rest of the SEC East, yeah, they look like the better team, but based on how they have performed at times, the gap doesn't look that wide without Brock Bowers being there. And they currently are on their bye week. You know who they play following their bye? They got to play Florida in the Florida-Georgia game down there in Jacksonville. In Florida, they're in second place in the SEC East at 3-1. Not having Brock Bowers, I think that Florida does have a pretty good shot at winning that game. And I know that it's a team sport. One player doesn't make or break the team. But anytime you have one of the best players in college football missing time with injury, you're going to feel that loss. I don't think that Brock Bowers getting injured is just something that Georgia's easily going to be able to replace and say, oh, no worries, we got it. Like Florida, even though Graham Mertz wasn't really a quarterback that many people were high on coming into this season, like, it's starting to look like he's starting to hit his stride. And this isn't the same Georgia defense that we've seen in their back-to-back championship wins. This is a Georgia team that kind of was getting carved up by Vanderbilt, and they don't really play their best football unless they're going up against top-notch competition like what they were against Kentucky. This is a team that tends to play down the competition at times and play up the competition anytime they are in big games. But Florida, they're one of those teams that you don't want to face because they're your rival. And these rivalry games have the tendency to be really close. And that Auburn game, most of us thought that that was going to be a massacre. We weren't expecting that game to be close. So if Georgia is struggling to beat Auburn, what makes you think that they're not potentially going to be able to struggle to beat Florida without one of the best players in all of college football? And not just that you got to play Florida after your bye week, but you also got to play Missouri, Tennessee, and you probably aren't going to have Brock Bowers for any of those matchups. Missouri, they've been really potent offensively. Brady Cook's been playing some damn good football. Luther Burden has damn near been unstoppable. Tennessee, their offense hasn't been what it is or what it was last year, but their defense has looked really good. So the last couple of games on Georgia's schedule are really tough. Like, you got to play Ole Miss. And yeah, you are going to have the luxury of being able to play Missouri and Ole Miss at home. But just because you're going to have the home field advantage doesn't necessarily guarantee you to win. I think that this is the most vulnerable that we've seen Georgia in a very long time. Because for the first time, there are some significant concerns about this team. We know that they have plenty of 5- and 4-star talent, but just because you have 5- and 4-star guys on the roster doesn't mean that those guys are immediately going to step in and they're going to play at a high level. This injury to Brock Bowers definitely makes this SEC race or this SEC East race wide open. Like, I really feel like we potentially could see Georgia lose one of their next couple of games that they have to close out this season. I'm not saying that it's going to happen against Florida, but it most definitely could happen against a team like Mizzou or Ole Miss that's more than capable of being able to put up a lot of points on you. And Kentucky, Yeah, that was a really solid win by Georgia. Kentucky offensively hasn't been great this year. Missouri and Ole Miss have. So for Georgia, not having Brock Bowers really changes the SEC East race. And I really think that this thing is wide open now. I'm not saying that Georgia isn't going to win this division. All I'm saying is that I don't think you can count out Florida, Missouri, or Tennessee for having a shot at being able to win this division, given the fact that Georgia was heavily dependent on Brock Bowers. You take him out of the equation against Auburn, and you're walking into the Florida-Georgia game 6-1 instead of 7-0. Anytime you're losing a player of this magnitude, one of the greatest to ever play, of course you're going to feel that loss. And I know Georgia fans are going to say, man, we got this dude, we got that guy. You don't got another Brock Bowers. Guys like Brock Bowers don't grow on trees. He's one of the best players in college football for a reason. You're not just going to lose this guy and move on. Like, it's not going to be a loss that you're not going to feel. Like, you're going to feel it. So let me know how you guys feel about Brock Bowers' injury and how you feel about Georgia's chances of being able to still remain the top dog in the SEC East this year.